What are the top 5 reasons to use forms instead of a template? You might not be aware of this, but if you look at the outcomes of both of these ways of doing work in business, you'll notice that they're very similar. So if you have a template set up, and let's say that you copy it and you rename it and you move it to where it's meant to go and link to it, like it's quite a lot of work straight off the bat. But then you go through and there's a whole bunch of questions or there's a whole bunch of text that needs to be edited. You end up with a final document that is filled in. Contrast that with a form. Instead of having to copy and rename, you just go straight across and fill in the questions. So this is the first reason, that you do not need to have to know how to or even want to copy, rename, move, link. All of that just happens in the form. The second cool thing is that when you have a form, you can just change one of the questions and suddenly that will propagate through. Look, that's the same with the template, but it's just one central location that can be managed. In addition, if you're actually sending your templates to your clients, then they are receiving that most likely through email, or perhaps you're saying, hey, click on this link and download this form, which is fine, but they then have to send it back to you, most likely using email. This presents a problem. Now you've got their response sitting in your email client, and it is not a guarantee that that is going to end up back in your folder structure where you run your business. What does this mean? It means there's a risk of lost information, that the client returns the form and returns the template completed, and then you lose it. What happens with a form software? Well, hey, great. It's all sitting there. If you do not remember, you can just search in the results and boom, there it is. It's all stored in a central location. In addition, you've also got automations that are significantly easier. You don't have to worry about text strings or that sort of stuff. When you use a form software, as soon as something happens in that, it triggers off the automation. This is great if you're trying to link between a response going through and a to-do being sent, things like that. Much, much easier when they are based around form software instead of around receiving emails. So that's your third reason. Number 4, this is an interesting one. The actual experience of completing a template can be overwhelming for people. Like if you look at how many questions there are and there's more than say 4 or 6, and suddenly there's 20 questions, they're like, oh my goodness, how long is this going to take? I don't even want to do this. The advantage of the forms is that you can essentially have them deal with one question at a time. All they've got to deal with is just that one question. Their focus is on that question, they answer that question, and they hit click, and it goes through the next one. There's a little dopamine reward there. There's a little like, oh yeah, cool. Particularly if you link it up with a progress or a sound that happens, then they are getting a small incremental win that can be extremely helpful to actually lead to the completion of the work. Finally, let's have a look at a couple of options for doing this. You may think you do not have form software. You're like, man, that form stuff, it sounds great, a lot of advantages, I don't have it. Look, if you have Google Docs and Google Sheets and you have Drive and you have Gmail, guess what? You also have Google Forms. It is there. Sometimes it's hidden and you won't see it. It'll be underneath Docs and Sheets and Slides, but I noticed more and more that Forms is showing up immediately. So you have free access to form software and it has significantly improved. Like it's going through building out a form, and I noticed that their settings is much clearer. The only one to watch out for is that if you wish to have an email receipt sent to you, perhaps it's one that you want to be notified on, then you need to do that not in the settings, but in the responses in the little 3 dots. Click that and it'll have send me a notification. This previously had to be handled by an add-on, but Google's brought that in. It'd be really great if that was in the settings as well, but it's not, and that may change. If you want to go fancy, there's a couple of recommendations. One is Survey Sparrow and one is Typeform. The reason I like these is both of these have moved to having the option to move your form out of a traditional form style and into a chat messenger style. This is extremely similar to what you're used to doing with any messenger service, whether it's WhatsApp or Messenger or Signal or Telegram, all of these things where there's a response. And now those two particular softwares will allow you to set up your forms in that format. If that's something that you're interested in, then head over to Survey Sparrow or to Typeform and check them out. All right, that's all I've got for you today. If you want to, there is an opportunity to check out your systems mindset skill sets. Actually, just skill sets, mindsets still working on. And you can do that by going to systemio.dev/skillset assessment and go and check out how you rate on your skill sets around systems. All right, that's all I got for you. Thanks so much for joining in today's journey, today's exploration of how systems create results. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow in that episode. See you then.